There we go. I'm currently sharing. So, like I said, I'm going to go back a little bit before we can go forward. I want to quickly introduce you to the StorageCraft image-based solution. All right? Oops. So, before we start putting backup data into the StorageCraft cloud, we do need to make sure that we've got good, solid backup images locally, right? The StorageCraft solution consists not of just the cloud service. We're not going to ever back up directly to the StorageCraft cloud for disaster recovery. We do have to take individual backups of each machine locally first, and for that reason we have what we call Shadow Protect SPX. Shadow Protect is the flagship product of StorageCraft. It's something that we've been doing really since the very, very beginning. Shadow Protect is an image-based backup, a snapshot of the sector level, and we create a backup image file that is saved in our own proprietary format. We support the full backups as well as incrementals. We can set those incrementals to back up periodically as often as every 15 minutes, or we can extend it to every hour, every 2 hours, once a day. But essentially what we do is we create a backup chain. And this backup chain now is a great representation of everything that's happened since we started that backup job. All right, and Shadow Protect SPX needs to be installed on each machine at home, all right, or at your local business where it is that you've actually got your brick and mortar set up. It supports both physical and virtual environments. So we're gonna perform the same both on a physical machine or on a virtual machine. And once we've got those backup images running, we're going to use another application called Image Manager, which is this one right here. Okay, Image Manager is going to do just what its name implies, and that is manage your backup images. Image Manager's role is actually very, very important even before you push that backup data into the StorageCraft cloud. Image Manager's role is to verify those backup files. Once Shadow Protect starts creating a backup image chain and you've got that full backup and the different recovery points in all these incrementals, Image Manager's role is to verify those files. And it'll make sure that every single file within that backup chain is verified for consistency. It's looking to make sure those files are not becoming corrupted. And it's a very important piece of making sure those backup images are being managed correctly. The last thing you want is to be able to attempt a restore of your backup data and then realize that the pieces within that backup that are required to do the restore are not available because the files are corrupted, or you can't do the restore because your backup chain is incomplete somehow. Files accidentally just are no longer working, or cannot be read, and that is something that we absolutely cannot have if we're going to have a good, solid backup and disaster recovery solution in place. So Image Manager is critical. It's going to double check, make sure those files are in good shape, and that's its primary function. Second to that, it also controls your retention policy. All right, Image Manager is set up in such a way that when you create a backup chain and you've got this continuous chain running, and you've got all these different recovery points over time representing everything that's happened from day one, through the first couple weeks to a month, a year, you've got a nice long backup chain. Image Manager provides a consolidation feature that is going to take those backup image sets at the end of each day, the end of each week, and the end of each month and create a consolidated file representing the end of the day, week, or month. And that's then going to take the place of the smaller files representing that day, or representing the week, or representing the month, which then allows you to purge those files out and keep those consolidated points in time. Shrinking your backup chain, helping you to control how much data is actually being kept and stored, and allowing you to essentially define the time frame that you want to actually be able to still recover from. And so that's the second piece that Image Manager does. Now, it's also very critical with the StorageCraft Cloud services because Image Manager will also be in charge of replicating the backup data to the StorageCraft cloud. I mean, it does more than just replicate to the StorageCraft cloud. You can replicate pretty much anywhere you want, from from its current location to a drive that you can then take home. You can push your backup data to another data center somewhere off-site. But what we're concerned about is making sure that we can connect to the StorageCraft cloud, and we actually have our StorageCraft Cloud Services connector built into Image Manager. All right, so as you're beginning to think through what it is that's necessary in order for this solution to work, it's all going to start with Shadow Protect and Image Manager locally. Okay, and even without the StorageCraft Cloud, it is these tools that'll make sure that you've got a fantastic backup and disaster recovery solution at home, so that you can do those quick restores in those onesie-twosie type scenarios. Let's say it's only a single machine that's failed. Well, you're going to use the StorageCraft tools that you have locally to be able to bring that system back up online rather than fail over to the cloud. One thing that StorageCraft Shadow Protect actually offers that I have not discussed, but you may already know about, is a feature called Virtual Boot, which can bring the system online by way of a virtual machine reading directly from the backup images, very similar to what we actually do in the StorageCraft Cloud. And of course, these are all conversations our additional salespeople can talk with you if everything that we're talking about here sparks your interest. We'd love to have these conversations with you about how we can actually work in your environment locally. But let's jump to the cloud now. All right. Now that I've given you a brief intro about what's required locally, once you've got your cloud services account set up, once you've got Image Manager sending that backup data into the StorageCraft Cloud, what does that actually look like? What's actually available there? Well, let's go ahead and log in to what we call our Cloud Services portal by way of a web browser. All right, so I'm logging into what we call a partner portal. I've got, because I'm a StorageCraft employee, I've got very special privileges, and I can do a little bit more than just the cloud services through this portal. But I want to introduce you to the StorageCraft Cloud Services portal here. Maybe it will let me in. There we go. We'll try that again. Didn't look like it wanted to let me in last time. This looks a little bit better. Okay. It's running a little bit slower than I had expected, but I think we're probably all right. Anyway, take a look at all these great awards that StorageCraft is actually winning. We're doing some great things. Cloud Services is accessed right over here. So here we go. This is what your Cloud Services portal actually looks like. All right. Now, of course, I've got all the different accounts that have been set up under me showing up right in here. If I want to actually see the different devices that have been replicated, I can actually see these down below by clicking on the little plus sign. All right. So if I look at my demo lab account, I've got a file server and a Windows 7 machine. Both of them are being backed up locally, and both of them have replicated the backup data into the StorageCraft Cloud. And I've got some information at the account level, how many machines have been sent in, any virtual machines that might be running. Do I have public IPs that have been requested so that I can set up my firewall? All that type of information is right there. But now if I click on the machines themselves, I get specific information about the actual machine. So of course, up here, my machine name is shown, which GUID it's, the GUID associated with it. If I'm replicating, let's say I've got a machine that's backing up and it's got more than one drive, it'll show me, which one it has identified as being my boot volume, so that when I launch a VM, of course, my VM option is found right up here. Just see how easy that is if I want to launch my virtual machine. Now, I'm going to jump on the virtual machine piece here in just a second. You'll see just how quick and easy that is. But as far as everything else that you may want to know about, down here, just within this little blue ribbon there, if it comes to individual file and folder support, all of my different recovery points can be found down in here. And I've only got one that's active for this particular file server, one snapshot that's currently saved. But if I wanted to do a restore of a single file, all I got to do is click on the point in time that I'm needed. It'll then reveal all of the different volumes that have been backed up for that machine for that specific point in time. In this case, I'm only backing up my C drive. So if I wanted to restore a single file, I'm simply going to mount my C drive. All right, we'll go ahead, put in my backup password. I think I typed that right. There it is. And notice that it says that it's mounting. Once the mount is complete, essentially what it's doing is it's opening up that backup set and is going to show me what the contents of that machine looked like at the time that this particular backup file was created. So once this mounting is complete, I'm going to be able to browse through my hard drive, so to speak, just as if it was local. I'll be able to find all my different folders. There we go. I'll find all my different folders. Let's go ahead and browse it. Notice there's my C drive. I've got all the different folders associated with it. I know that over here in my mumbo jumbo, I've got a whole bunch of important files. Like my Depeche Mode music and stuff like that. All I need to do is choose the one that I'm interested in. Click on Create Zip File. It actually zips that file up for me and will allow me to actually download that. Now, it looks like it might take a minute to zip that, so I'm going to cancel my restore. But that's it. I mean, if I wanted to restore a single file or a folder, I could actually do a complete folder if I wanted to. That's why I wanted to download the entire Depeche Mode set. Again, I can create a zip file. It'll zip everything within that folder up into a single file that I can then download. All right, so this is what is meant by the file and folder recovery option that's available in the StorageCraft Cloud. That's available in Cloud Plus and Cloud Premium service level. All right, so that's very important for you to understand and know. So that's how we do the file and folder restores. Now, let's talk about what I think everybody is probably most interested in, and that is, okay, how do I fail over to the StorageCraft cloud? All right, you know that the title of our webinar refers to failover with the flick of a switch. Now, is it really that easy? You know, it may not be a single switch. It may require just a very little preparation beforehand, but man, we're pretty dang close to just flicking a switch. And let me show you what I'm talking about. At the account level, when I know that I've got critical machines that have been replicated into the StorageCraft cloud, and I know that if there's an actual disaster, I can set up all of my networking components, everything that's needed beforehand. You'll notice that when I click on my account, I've got this area right here for networking. If I click on networking, get a load of this, and see just how easy this is to set up. Nothing complicated at all. First off, it shows me my subnet configuration. Each of my machines that boot up will be assigned their own private network. They'll be assigned to their own private network. Okay, they're going to get their own IP address, in this case on my 192.168.230 network. Okay, I can modify this if I want. If I don't like the 192.168 scheme, I can choose the 172.16, 10.0, which is going to support more and more machines if that's actually needed. Otherwise, of course, I may not need to modify that. But then how do I gain access to those servers? Right? All those servers are going to be signed up on this they're going to boot up and they're going to be assigned to this one network, but I'm going to need to provide outside access, right? We'll get a load of this. Like I said before, we have an Ipsec Vpn configuration that I can set up, which essentially really requires that we know where the remote network is, you know, the name of the remote network and the gateway associated with it. We want to know the mask we're going to use, and we're simply going to define a shared key. That shared key is going to be set up on either side, and our connection is going to be facilitated. Or there's also the OpenVPN connection, which I'll go ahead and demonstrate to you here in just a second. Essentially, we're going to create a network between the client through the OpenVPN app and the actual firewall. We're going to go ahead and give it an appropriate mask, and then we start adding the different users. OpenVPN is an open-source, client-based VPN connector. You know, if you got the outside world wanting to connect into the StorageCraft cloud network, all you need to do is run the OpenVPN client, connect to the network, and you're ready to go. And I'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you in just a little bit. But none of that's going to work if you don't have a firewall you can connect to. So notice that we give you the ability to actually set up a firewall. All right, it's going to have its own dedicated public IP address. And you can request that public IP address right down in here. All right, once the IP address has been used up, you can go ahead and disable that, and it's no longer used. You can release it, and it's no longer used. In this case, I've got an IP address that has not yet been released. If I need another one, I can go ahead and click on Add IP Address. Notice the rest of your networking options. Okay, when it comes to your private addresses that are going to be assigned to your machines, you can either have them be straight up DHCP, or we can do a DHCP reservation where you can actually say, listen, I don't want DHCP to assign any arbitrary IP address. Let's go ahead and assign it something else. Maybe I don't want it to be assigned 11. Maybe I want it to be assigned a client IP address of .20. I can go ahead and make that happen, and it'll always use .20 in that IP address. So something that's really important for you to be able to understand and know. And then also notice we can set up network mappings. Like I said before, we can go ahead and add additional mappings to those different machines. So once machines are booted up, we can actually say, okay, you know, we've got an IP address. We can go ahead and set up the port forwarding is essentially what we're doing. We can go ahead and forward specific ports for your web servers, for your email servers, and that type of thing right down in here. All right, let's talk about recovery now. All right, when it's time for me to boot up a virtual machine, what are my options? Well, I can come up to each individual machine independently. I can go to my file server, launch the virtual machine. I can then come to my Windows 7 machine and launch that virtual machine as well. Or I could, again, back over here in my networking area, I can create what we call a virtual machine policy. You know, and this will say, all right, all I got to do is essentially hit go, and it'll go ahead and launch my policy. So what is the policy? When you click Virtual Machine Policy, it brings you up this little work, I call it a little work area, right? And all the different machines that have been replicated under that account are going to be showing right in here. You'll notice I got my file server and my Windows 7 machine. Well, what do? Well, I'm going to take these different machines and I'm going to bring them over to my workspace. Oh, I got to put my password in there. And then submit it, and it'll actually take that machine over into my, oops, did it not do that? Let's try this again. There we go, hit submit. subnet. Oh, it didn't like my password for that. Well, no wonder it's not letting me do it. Well, essentially, though, you can actually take the different machines, drag them over. Let's see if this will work. There we are. Give it a second here. There it is. I'll bet you I just typed this in wrong. Let's try that one more time. There we are. So you can drag the different machines off to this into your little workspace and then draw lines to them, indicating that one machine depends on the other. So this file server won't boot up until this Windows machine, this Windows 7 machine does. I can go ahead and edit this so that I have the ability to add additional seconds. If it's going to take a couple minutes, I can go ahead and give this 120 minutes before it, or 120 seconds before it finally boots up. All right? But we can do that to all the different machines. Drag them all off into this workstation, this work area. Draw lines from one machine to the other, which machine depends on which. When it's all said and done, you can save it. All right, right now it's saved. I can close this window right now, and I can come back to this virtual machine policy later. It's going to save that information. I'll come up here in just a second. And when the time comes, all I have to do is hit Launch VM Policy, and it's going to launch these different virtual machines, starting with my Windows 7 machine. Now, I'm going to go ahead and launch my file server right here just by clicking on Start VM. All right? And look how easy that is. I am building a virtual machine directly from my backup images. So if my critical machines have failed locally, all I have to do is launch the VM. It's ready to boot. All I need to do now is click on View, and I have a remote desktop connection directly into that machine. I can watch it boot up. Once it's completely up and running again, I'm going to be able to log in and actually have access to that machine, remote desktop access to that machine. So I'm going to let this boot up here for just a second, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like to actually connect with that OpenVPN. In fact, while it's booting, let me actually go ahead and show you that. So again, at the account level, I go to my networking. Let's check and see if my firewall has started. Get a load of that. My firewall status is active. My firewall is actually ready to go, which means my network has started. And locally here, I actually have my OpenVPN account set up. Okay, OpenVPN, it's right there. Now, you'll notice I've actually created an OpenVPN user. I've got a configuration file that's specific to this machine. What I've done to make sure this is all set up, I've installed OpenVPN on my machine. I just need to copy this data and then save it into the OpenVPN profile. And as you can see, I've already done that, and I'm user number 1. As you can see right there, user number 1. Now, if I want to connect then to my network, all I got to do is hit connect. It starts the connection right now. And I'm on. I am now connected to this network in the cloud. I'm connected to network 192.168.230.0. All right. Now all that I have to do is simply wait and let this machine finish booting, which it should finish here in just a second. I will log in, and I will actually show you that I can ping this machine from my local desktop here. I will show you that I can actually modify a file. And with that, given the time that we're at, oh, I'm actually ahead of time. That's actually a lot better than I thought. Then the actual demo piece will pretty much be done. We could probably move on to question and answers. But hopefully I'm hitting all the high points here with what it was that you were looking for. Let me see. What else can I actually show here while this is booting up? Because nobody wants silence while I'm just waiting for stuff to happen, right? Let me see. Oh yeah, let's go back to my account. So you're probably also wondering what happens in a scenario where you're ready to restore locally. All right, I've already mentioned to you that we can build the VM, we can do the file and folder restores, but let's say that we've utilized the cloud as we've needed it, and I've repaired some machines locally. What is it now that I need to do? You'll notice there's a little area at the account level right here in this little blue ribbon that says Seed BMR. If I click on this, I can actually come down here and request. We call it a C drive, but we'll have the option when I open this form to choose this, whether it's a C drive or a BMR. Which brings up another point. I didn't really mention this. You can take your initial full backup and seed it into the cloud. You can request a drive from us. We'll send it to you. You can offload your initial full backup onto that drive and send that back to us, and we will automatically populate the cloud for you. That way you don't have to worry about potential bottlenecks as you're trying to push potentially large full backup image files into the StorageCraft cloud. But like I said, this is also where you can request your restore drive. We'll then take all the backup data that we have. We'll push it onto that drive and then send that over to you. You can use that to do your restores locally. Now let's see if we're logged in yet. Yes, we are. Let's go ahead and click OK. I'm going to log into my machine. And again, I'm doing all of this from a single portal. Like that. Let's try that again. There we are. All right. Again, like I said, we're doing all of this from one single portal. I've got remote desktop access now into this machine that just booted up. Once I have access to the desktop, I'll go ahead and show you that I've been assigned an IP address specific to my local network. Right there, 192.168.230.100. If I come back to my account, take a look at networking, what are we at? 192.168.230, and my machine is 100. Very good. Now it's up and running. I'm connected to this network. Let's see if I can connect from my local machine. All right, let's see if we can ping this. 192.168.230.100. Look at that. I'm pinging. All right. So I have access to this machine now directly from my desktop. Not only that, you know, I've actually set this machine up already so that it's sharing some important folders. All right. So let's go ahead and open this up. All right. Let's go back to my C drive here. It's my Mumbo Jumbo folder that I'm currently sharing. And I've created a test file right here. Let's open this up real quick. All right. This is a test file. So that's great. We'll go ahead and leave this the way that it is and kind of get this out of the way. Now let's see if I can access the machine. What I'm going to do, actually let's go back in here. I'm sorry, we're going to close this for now. But I'm going to access this file from my desktop, and I'm going to make a change. And we're going to see if that change is actually shown after I actually do this. This is really just proof that everything's currently working. So let's go ahead and go ahead and see if I can connect to that machine here. Yep, sure enough I can. There's my Mumbo Jumbo folder. There's my test file. It's right there. Okay. Happy Tuesday. All right. There we go. So let's go ahead and save my file. All right. Did it. Let's go ahead and close it. We can go ahead and get out of here now. So let's go back into my StorageCraft cloud, and let's open my test file now. There it is. I'm modifying this file. Happy Tuesday. So there it is. All right. I have been able to show that I've got direct connectivity into this virtual machine that I have launched in the StorageCraft cloud. I access it by way of a VPN, and guess what? This is something I was able to accomplish less than 5 minutes. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood the real power and the value of the StorageCraft cloud services. StorageCraft has been putting together this solution now. It's been since 2012 that we offer our cloud services, and it's only getting better. There are a number of different things that are going on our roadmap that are going to be adding additional capabilities and additional services that we have to offer. And this is just, you know, one of the great things that StorageCraft is currently doing. With that, the demonstration is complete, and my presentation is actually done. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down this virtual machine. We're going to go ahead and log out of my portal, and we'll go ahead and get back into my slides here. I think it's this one, right? Where are my slides? Sending app share. There we go. All right. So we should be looking at slides again. As you can see, we're now moving over to questions and answers. Mike, thanks for the time to share that. That was actually really fun for me, and I hope that it's generating all sorts of different questions. But I'm going to turn the time over to you to kind of officiate the question and answer time.
All right. Hey, thanks very much, Martin. A lot of great information. We encourage